Welcome back to another James Bond Aficionado. Calling all the way from Edinburgh, Scotland is Billy Roberts, Bond Art on Instagram. Billy, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you, Brian. I'm very good. I'm nervous, actually. I'm gonna admit it right from the bat. I'm quite nervous. I've never been on the receiving end of Bond-related stuff. You know, I'm new to the game, and you're getting good at the old interviews. So I'm glad that you're feeling comfortable. But yeah, I'm a little nervous. I've been lurking in the Bond community for so long, being the one asking questions in live streams, this and that. But yeah, so I feel under pressure being on the receiving end of the questions. But thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, first off, don't feel nervous. Don't feel under pressure. Have fun. Interact with me. So let's make this the best that we can. And I see that Daniel Craig painting that you did that's right behind you. So I think you kind of owe me that one that's on the shelf.
A very shameless
Is that number one?
That's a print, actually. That's a print. That's not the original. The print is actually in the original. Sorry, is kind of a weird shape. It's much smaller than the paper that it's painted on. So I need to sort of trim it so that I can frame it properly. But yeah, we have a little bit of beef.
He's going to be giving me number one.
We'll get the beef out of the way first. Let you down big time on that, on the print. What was it? What happened? I told you that there was going to be no prints and offered to sell you the original for like 75 quid.
Yeah, I think that was about right. So,
and then I just popped up with prints.
I would throw up a certain gesture right now, but I think YouTube may flag me for inappropriate content because
I just want to put it out there that was not intentional. You were the first person to pop up saying that you were interested in buying it, and at which point I had no intention of making prints of it, but people seemed to really like it. But what I done wrong was I didn't then tell you that was going to happen. I just left you in the dark there, put them up on sale, made you feel a bit forgotten about it. I do apologize about that. It's not my intention at all.
Is that a Scottish thing? Because that sure is an American thing to do. We're nice over here in America.
Just generally being nasty. I guess that is kind of a Scottish thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe, yeah, I guess. We'll blame it on that, yeah.
Okay. No, I said we blame it on Joe Darlington. Oh wait, he's American. My bad.
I'm sure we can find a way to blame it on him anyway, to be honest.
Right. Billy, like every debriefing, I like to ask how you got into James Bond, so will you please share kindly with your introduction?
Yes. I have quite a nice little story of how I got into James Bond, which is all revolves around wanting to look cool in front of my best friend at the time. So my first Bond film was Die Another Day, 2002. I think I was 7 or 8 years old at the time. And I was in primary school. That's what we call it over here, you know, whatever school you're at when you're 7 or 8. And at the end of each lesson, you would get like 20 minutes of playtime or something. And what my best friend at the time did, a guy called Fraser Sharp, who's still a big Bond fan, actually. I haven't spoken to him for a long time, but he's still a big Bond fan. He had kind of cornered off a section of the classroom. And he was making people say a password to get in and play with him, basically. And I was kind of thinking, well, he's my best friend. He'll probably let me in without a password, right? So I got to the front. He said, I've got something special for you to let you get into the play area. And he gave me a little identity card, like a little toy identity card. And it had Pierce Brosnan on it as James Bond. And it said James Bond, secret agent, all this kind of stuff. And it meant nothing to me. I was like, who on earth is that? And he kind of takes a step back. And he's like, what do you mean, who on earth's that? I was like, who on earth is that? I don't know who that is. He's like, what, you don't know who James Bond is? And, you know, he really put me down for that. So I went home that night and I was quite upset. And I was like, oh, my best friend Fraser doesn't think I'm cool anymore because I don't know who James Bond is. So I went to my mum and dad and I was upset. And I was like, oh, who's James Bond? Who's James Bond? And he had told me, you know, Die Another Day's out in the cinema. I've been to see it like twice already or something. You've got to go and see this film. So I really felt like I wasn't cool anymore to this guy. It's like, you know, when you're little, your best friend's like, you know, the coolest guy ever. So I remember I felt a bit uncool that I didn't know who James Bond was. Anyway, I begged my dad to take me to see Die Another Day, and you know, in hindsight, Die Another Day is not the greatest of James Bond films. But for a 7 or 8-year-old who's really wanting to go and see it to look cool for his best friend, my mind was blown. That for me it was like the best film I had ever seen at the time. And you look back and you go, oh, Die Another Day. There's a lot to be said and that's negative about that movie. But for an 8-year-old who has nothing to compare it to, never seen another Bond film, I didn't. You compare it to other Bond films, you go, yeah, it's not good compared to this. But at the time, I'd never seen any of them. I was 8 years old, so maybe the comic book style of Die Another Day spoke to me. But yeah, I'm a big advocate for Die Another Day being an important film. I'm not going to say it's a good film, but it's an important film, and I think a lot of people of my generation will have got into Bond because of Die Another Day. I know all my friends at the time thought it was amazing, the coolest thing that had ever happened. So in terms of bringing in the youth, I think it was quite, it was quite good. So yeah, that was my introduction, just wanting to look cool for my best friend and thinking that Die Another Day was the best thing that had ever happened. I don't think that anymore, by the way.
So what do you think is the best Bond movie to this date, then?
I have a top 5 that's always revolving.
No, go ahead and reveal it if you want to.
So my 5 that I always go back to, and I will never say anything bad about, From Russia with Love, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Live and Let Die, License to Kill, and Casino Royale. They're my top 5. It's ever changing. I think at this exact moment in time, Majesty's is probably my number 1. It tends to be number 1 a bit more than those other ones, depending on my mood. But yeah, definitely a Majesty's fan.
Well, I'll be honest with you, and especially, I was actually rewatching Majesty's and From Russia with Love last night, just because today's thing on the Bond 25-day challenge is Best Ally.
Mm.
And I always resort back to those 2 films because, of course, Karen Bay.
Yeah,
and
of course, man.
Mark-Ange Draco, so it's like...
Yeah, they're
who
very
really
similar.
does take over the top?
I think for a lot of people, those 2 are really high up there. I don't think there's really been a Bond ally that's kind of hit the heights of those 2. I really like Mathis. I really like Rennie Mathis. I think he's a very underrated character.
Oh yeah, and I agree. It's sad that they disposed, I should say, Mathis in a poorly manner in Quantum. I could have seen him at least. I think it would have been interesting to see him maybe in even No Time to Die, since he wouldn't have made sense in Skyfall.
Yeah,
he wouldn't have made sense in Spectre either. Maybe, actually, I take that back. Spectre maybe in Rome, instead of saying, I'm calling an old friend Felix.
Yeah, maybe.
And instead he's calling Mathis, and we actually see him calling Mathis.
I think he's a very underrated part of Casino Royale. There's a lot to love in Casino Royale, but I really, really like the character of Rennie Mathis. And in Quantum of Solace, again, it's good, but it kind of just ends just like that, and he's in the bin. All of a sudden he's just binned, literally binned. So it's kind of upsetting. But yeah, I've been enjoying your 25 Days of Bond thing.
Well, I appreciate that.
A lot of the ones that you post, I agree with. I think we're on quite a similar wavelength in terms of the Bond films that we like. I know you're a big Majesty's fan.
Oh, absolutely. I'll support Majesty's all day, every day. It just doesn't matter what people say to me. And it's like, I'll even look at them and they're like, really?
Yeah.
Majesty's? And it's like, dude, it's the best story, best soundtrack. I could keep on going on about it.
It's the best book as well, in my opinion. It's the best book.
And I haven't even made it to the book yet.
Well, the thing is, if you like the film, you're going to like the book, because they're, for the most part, a pretty true adaptation of the book. Obviously, not all the Bond films are like that, but you're definitely going to enjoy the book. If you already think that the film is one of the best ones, you're definitely going to enjoy the book.
So I'm going to move on to the next question, Billy. So
okay.
You have a real talent of doing art, I see, and you have now started James Bond in color.
Yes.
Why James Bond related and not something else you're passionate about?
Well, speaking as an artist, the reason I got into art was because I got into art quite late on in terms of, I was never a budding artist from a young age or anything like that. I've always been kind of artistic, but I never owned any, art supplies or anything like that until fairly recently, about 2-3 years ago maybe, where I was at a point in my life where I was kind of, I felt a bit a loose end, I guess, or mentally a little bit a loose end. I was procrastinating a lot. And I took a step back and I was like, well, what do I need in my life to fill a little gap where I've obviously got a lot of free time to procrastinate away, and, so I thought, well, I need a hobby that I can do in the house, that I can focus my attention on, that's nothing too serious. So my girlfriend at the time bought me a bunch of paint and some canvases, because I'd mentioned to her before that, I liked art. I've always liked going to a gallery or something like that when we went on holiday together and stuff. And I'd mentioned, I'd love to get into art, because I knew I was quite good at drawing from like school and stuff. So she bought me a whole bunch of paint supplies, and I just kind of started from there. And it took a little while to get into it, because it's deceptively difficult. You're kind of like, oh, I've got paint now, I'll paint whatever I want. And like the first 10 things I ever painted just sucked so majorly. But at the same time, it was like something to focus my attention on. And so that's how I kind of got into art. And then I realized, if you hit these slumps along the way where you want to progress maybe faster than you're actually capable of progressing, and it kind of goes for any creative art, and it's easy to just sort of step away from it and go, oh, well, it's starting to get difficult now, which is the wrong mindset, and to be totally for art. But the reason I started really focusing it on James Bond related things were because, well, I love James Bond so much, and I've always known that ever since. That was the one thing throughout my whole life from when I was 7-8 years old. I said, well, maybe I'll just start painting Bond stuff, and that's going to be my inspiration to keep progressing as an artist, because I know I'm always going to want to paint something James Bond related. I'm not always going to want to practice painting this landscape that means nothing to me, or practicing portraits of this person that I'm just doing for the sake of it. But all of a sudden I'm painting Grace Jones as Mayday, and I'm going, this is amazing, because I love Grace Jones, I love A View to a Kill, love James Bond, I love painting. So it kind of all comes together in a nice little package for me. So for the most part now, I'm pretty much focusing all my artistic stuff on the James Bond kind of thing. I mean, I do other work for other people here and there, bits and bobs. I'm always going to do that because it's just helpful for me. But in terms of what I personally want to do with art now, I'm pretty firmly in the James Bond art whenever I can mode, unless someone wants me to do something else, which I will obviously do. But anything I'm doing for myself, at least at the moment, I'm firmly in the James Bond camp. So
yeah, and I remember when I first stumbled on your page, you were doing the when Bond in From Russia with Love was getting on the boat with Tanya. And then, of course, you moved on to the volcano set piece from You Only Live Twice, and it's crazy to see how far it's advanced. And now you're doing digital, and which, if y'all can kind of see on my background right now, it's Billy's graphic design on for my Facebook and YouTube page. So my hat's off to you, my friend.
Yeah, so I mean, and I've noticed it progress quite a lot just in the short amount of time. I think I started my Bond account in like December of last year, in a kind of moment of the turn of the new year inspiration, I guess. Because I was really nervous about making a Bond account, or even an art account. Like even before, when I was doing art for other people, I never had an art account of any kind. It was always just through like word of mouth, people that I knew that wanted stuff done or whatever. So it was I was intimidated to make a social media account purely based on art. But at the same time, I knew I wanted to make something Bond related so I could integrate into the Bond community as some kind of content creator. I'm not really a content creator in the kind of way that you are, as an analyst of all things Bond. But it was a way for me to create an account for my art and an account to be someone in the Bond community. So that's kind of, what I was thinking at the time. And then I got so inspired by the fact that I had a platform now to post stuff, and I was getting feedback of people saying it was good. That, it makes you feel good when someone says your art's good, right? So my progression from there in terms of just my talent as an artist, I think has been quite a lot. Even now I look back at the stuff I was doing right at the start of the year, and I'm going, oh well, I could probably do that better now. But it's nice to have the inspiration from the community to apply to my art. So I'm getting a better artist because of it, and I'm getting loads more James Bond related stuff on my social media because of it. So everybody wins.
Yeah, and I think it's safe to say that you've made it within the six or 7 months of doing it, don't you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's I'm really pleased with how everything's went, and I never ever thought that people would want to buy a print of anything that I was doing, to be honest. And yeah, it's just been really inspiring. It's made me feel very good about myself, which is good. And it's made me feel really good about the Bond community. I mean, I already knew that the Bond community was a great place. I've been lurking in it for too long without really jumping in, neck deep. Mainly because I was just a bit intimidated by creating my own account. But yeah, no regrets whatsoever. It's brilliant community. Loads of lovely people, including yourself, obviously.
Oh, thank you. I totally agree. It is an intimidating community. It really is at first, and I felt the same way. I was like, are you serious? Is this something I really want to dive into? What if I'm not welcome? What if I'm not accepted? And
I mean,
what if they don't like it, etc.?
I think for me, it was never a case of like I wouldn't be accepted. Like I knew that the Bond community was going to be a nice place, and everyone that I seen posting stuff seemed really nice. The intimidating thing for me was like, is my Bond knowledge, like, am I a hardcore enough fan to do this? And obviously, the moment you make a page, you kind of learn that that's not how it's judged whatsoever. But from the outside point of view, it's kind of like, am I elite enough? Is my Bond knowledge good enough to be? People are just gonna not take me seriously because I perhaps don't know this much about Bond, or that, as whatever. And also at the same time, being self-critical as an artist. Creating a page to basically try and advertise yourself as an artist is quite intimidating because you're going, well, what if my stuff isn't that good? But then the moment I actually started a page, I kind of realized, well, I don't actually care if my stuff is that good. Like, obviously I want to progress as an artist, but that's not what it's about at all. I'm not going to hold my hands up and say I can paint a masterpiece. A lot of the stuff I paint, I don't even post because I'm like, it's actually not that good. So you can kind of filter out into the good stuff. But then no one has ever said, oh, that one sucks, or that one's not good. Like, it's not like that at all. It's all just kind of in your head. So it's been great to be integrating into the community, and people have been enjoying the art, and I'm selling prints and stuff, and it's, they've went all over the world already. I've only had 2 things on sale. They've had ones like 3-4 different countries in Europe, the United States, Australia. So it's nice for me to know that my stuff's up in houses all around the world. Just my little stamp on the Bond community, which I honestly thought was never going to happen. I thought I'd get like...
guess what? It happened, and it took off just like hotcakes, they say.
Yeah, I'm glad. It's good. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really inspired right now to keep going and commit to the Bond community.
Like I said, it's been an honor really talking with you as well, and keep up the hard work. You're doing fantastic. So don't.
Thank you so much, man.
Don't stray away from it.
I won't. And thanks for getting in touch and wanting to speak to me because it's kind of odd for me to now, as I say, be on the receiving end of questions. It's you're the first person ever to slide into the DMs and say, do you want to chat about your point of view? So I appreciate that.
Well, I was gonna say, you're finally actually showing your face instead of standing behind a chat box and like, hey, can't talk today. Can't talk today. Wrong time. Sorry, wrong time.
People have said that to me. Like, oh, you should jump on this live stream, and you always say no. And like every time I've been asked to be on a live stream, it's like someone in the States, and I'm totally tucked up in bed, and I'm just like, I probably shouldn't be coming on. It's not. I've not
seen me in this current state.
I promise I've not been avoiding it. I've really not. And I want to start doing live streams on my own channel. Just setting up the camera while I'm working on an artwork and just let it roll for, and people can dip in and out and see the progress and stuff.
Absolutely. And you've heard it all here first on James Bond Aficionado Debriefings that Billy is going to be doing live streams one of these days, people.
I certainly intend to, if I can trust my internet connection enough. I will do it because it's not that good in my house, I must say.
Well, I'm going to say this right now. It's pretty stable, so.
Okay, so
that
excuse.
On wood lightly here, so it doesn't.
That excuse is
doesn't crap out
in 5 seconds.
Yeah, T-minus 5 seconds, people. Anyways, so Billy, do you have any influences in the Bond community that you are inspired by, or you enjoy listening to? Anything.
In terms of art, Jeff Marshall is my number one guy. He's my favorite Bond artist. Is he someone that you're aware of? Jeff Marshall's art?
Yeah, the name sounds familiar.
So he does some really incredible character artwork, and he's got a huge selection of James Bond related stuff. I've got a bunch of his stuff actually through in the other room, and he does poster stuff. He does tribute pieces to characters. He does art for a whole bunch of stuff. He's recently done one of the programs, I think, for On the Tracks of 007. Their James Bond in Thailand thing is all his art, and his artwork, you can tell it's a Jeff Marshall straight away. And I've been in touch with him a few times since I started my account. He's a lovely guy. Totally look him up the moment we're done here. Jeff Marshall Studio, I think he is on Instagram. He's got some great Bond art, so I look up to him a lot. He's probably the first kind of Bond artist that is active in the community that I really loved. Obviously yourself, in terms of a content creator, Chris, that one Bond guy, Ladies Who Bond. I love your little friend circle that you've got in there, bouncing off each other. It's great. I love you guys. I love your content. Okay. Obviously, podcast-wise, Joe Darlington. I don't actually think I've ever really spoke to. We've exchanged messages here and there. Seems like a lovely guy. Love his stuff. James Bond Radio is a podcast I listen to all the time. And I mean all the time. When you spend a lot of time doing art, you've got plenty of time to be listening to podcasts. James Bond Radio, they were probably the first stepping stone I had into the Bond community. They've been going for, 5 years now, maybe, something like that. And I listened from the very first episode number 1. And that was my first realization that things were happening. You know, there was social media content around James Bond. Because I really, at that point, didn't know anything about anyone. So they were my first stepping stone. Listened to every single episode. Such a great podcast. So yeah, obviously the Bond experience and stuff as well. Making great content. Always very supportive of what I do. Getting in touch and just generally spreading positivity in the Bond community. David is obviously a very good ambassador for the Bond community. He's got a nice smile and he's a very positive guy. He just makes everything feel fun and safe, you know. So yeah, I mean, there's loads. There's so many at the moment. But as I say, I've not really been here for that long, so I'm kind of just still getting into people. There's so many great accounts that I know are amazing accounts that are based on style. And honestly, the Bond style is probably the one area of Bond that I know the least about. Like, I'm just a jeans and t-shirt kind of guy. I don't own a suit. I don't think I even own a shirt of any kind. So I'm kind of dabbling in that, but I feel like so much of it is going over my head. Calvin Dyson as well. I can't believe I haven't mentioned him yet.
I was going to say, if you forget Calvin, I think there's going to be a
really
problem.
Bad.
I'm going to be
I'm sorry, Calvin.
Hey, buddy.
He bought one of my original paintings as well. I feel really terribly bad now that
that JW.
Yeah, and it's kind of, you can see it in the background of some of his videos and stuff. Thank you, Calvin, if you're watching, by the way, for buying that. Appreciate the business very much. Yeah, I feel so bad that I haven't mentioned him, actually, because he's actually probably my favorite of the lot. And I'm not just saying that now to cover my tracks. Like a great YouTube channel. And a great YouTube channel for people like me who maybe don't have a one specific kind of aspect of Bond that they really dabble in. You know, a great account for people that just love the films, and he covers all the ground movies-wise. A very easy channel to watch and get involved with, I think.
Well, and I've heard from people that have kids, they're asking, "Oh, can we watch that James Bond podcast?" And it's like, "Which one are you talking about?" And it's like, "That young guy that does it, that talks about the video games, etc., etc." And it's like, And it's like, you all know it's relating to Calvin, and Calvin's one of those that I love the most, I would like to say, because he does touch base on everything, and it's
I find his
such a kind-hearted soul.
Absolutely, just seems like such a lovely guy. Like the interactions we had when he wanted to buy the painting, he was just extremely polite and lovely, and you know, that was the easiest painting I've ever sold in my life. Like, he's just such an advocate for J.W. Pepper, and like, for me personally, it wasn't one of the favorite paintings that I've ever done. I liked it because it was fun, and I thought, yeah, there's some pieces that I really love that sit there and they never ever sell, and there's pieces I do that I quite like, but I'm like, there's something sellable about that. Someone's going to want that. And that was the first one that I actually specifically mentioned in the post I made about it, that it was for sale. And honestly, about 10 minutes later, he just popped up and said, I'm going to buy that. He's so about J.W. Pepper. You watch his videos about Live and Let Die, or The Man with the Golden Gun. No shame. The man loves J.W. Pepper.
Well, what I've said with Joe Darlington, that funny thing about J.W. is the actor Clifton James is where he spent his final years, and is where I grew up, my childhood. And did I ever come across him? No. Have I been asked that question many times? Yes, but you know, I have never came across him. I would assume, and I know he was very well active in the community and such, but did I ever come across him? No. Did I know who his grandchildren were? No.
No.
Stuff like that. So, but you know, the thing is, you look at back, like, because he died the day after my birthday, and like a few years back, and it's like, are you serious? He died in my hometown? What the heck?
Yeah,
and I didn't know this.
Yeah, I guess you kind of maybe take for granted just how large an area you live in. You know, and he probably wasn't screaming and shouting in the way that he was as JW. You know, maybe he was quite a low-key guy.
And I think he was. And but, you know, he might not be the most appreciative, like you were saying. But there are fans out there that truly do like him. And
I really like J.W. Pepper. I really do. I've got absolutely nothing against him in either of the films. I like him more in Live and Let Die, but
absolutely.
I think everyone would probably be the same. In the same way I think most people prefer Jaws and The Spy Who Loved Me as opposed to Moonraker. You know, the first time they just knock it out of the park. And obviously he's a recurring character. So people at the time must have enjoyed J.W. Pepper. Maybe he's not aged very well, but, you know, I think he's a sorely underrated character.
Well, I think J.W. in Thailand on holiday was just not the right thing, to be frankly honest.
Well, I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever, right?
And then Jaws and Moonraker, that makes sense to a degree, but him ending up with Dolly, this probably 5 foot, blonde hair, pigtails, where we all thought had braces in the earlier copies, but no, that's a complete myth, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a weird one, isn't it? Honestly, the guy that I mentioned at the start, Fraser Sharp, my best friend from primary school who got me into Bond, when we went up to high school, which is the school you go to when you're like 12, I don't know what you guys call it. But anyway.
We start high school at 15.
Okay, so we go up at 12, and he went to a different high school from me, and I didn't speak to him for years, actually. We kind of totally lost contact. And then sometime last year, he just added me as a friend on Facebook, and I was like, oh wow, it's Fraser. I haven't spoken to him for like 6, 7, 8 years or whatever it was. And he instantly messaged me when I accepted the friend request, and he said, something's been playing on my mind. And I know you're a big Bond fan. Can you confirm something for me? Did Dolly have braces in your memory in Moonraker? He tracked me down after all those years because he was so sure that she did. And I was like, I remember that she did too. I know that she didn't. But it's crazy just how many people have that memory of the braces. It's like the joke is so obvious. They literally didn't even need to do it because everyone just imagined that the joke was there anyway. And it's really weird how many people I know who remember the braces. You know, it's not just a few people here and there. It's a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think I honestly remember earlier cuts seeing braces or something like that.
I know. It's so
Or
weird.
maybe it's just the glimmer from like everything. I don't know. It's so. I don't know. I just always look back at it. It's like
Yeah,
she
honestly,
really had braces. Come on now. And especially when she was coming out of the dust in Rio.
yeah,
Come on now. It's like
that
when she
first
first
shot where
grew in
she's
them
smiling.
teeth.
Absolutely, man. Honestly, I'm half expecting Eon to kind of just release that and go, we got
I
you,
think they
we got you.
photoshopped them out.
You think so?
I think they
I don't
did,
know.
and
Did
they
someone
didn't.
not like track down one of the original VHSs of Moonraker and they weren't there?
Maybe it's
You
on
know?
the Laserdisc copy. I don't know.
I'm sure. I'm sure that they were there, man. I'm honestly like,
Oh, absolutely. One of these days, there's going to be archive footage released, and hopefully
absolutely, man.
there is. Like I've told Calvin, there has to be an archive over at Eon and Pinewood.
Oh
Well,
man,
more sake, Pinewood, like Disney does.
they must have so much stuff buried somewhere. You know, there's just
Well,
so
there's
many.
unused scripts out there.
Oh, there must just be an incredible amount of stuff. And I know that Eon are kind of notoriously a bit secretive with their stuff. You know, it's not the kind of franchise that really screams and shouts about every little thing. You know, they come across to me as quite secretive about a lot of stuff, and they take themselves very seriously. But yeah, they've got to have an archive of loads of things, like the stuff about in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. There was like a rooftop chase or something that.
Yeah.
There's got to be more somewhere
that.
about that no one's ever seen. It's got to exist. It's got to exist.
Oh, and I would love to see that.
Absolutely, man. Anything
But
from the old.
But if we probably talk about it, sadly, they're probably going to track down this video now and say, you better take that down because you mentioned that leaked rooftop chase.
Yeah.
You silly yank.
No, but yeah, that's yeah. Sorry, I didn't mention Calvin, and he bought the JW painting, and he was very, very keen to buy it. Honestly, I think I could have just written JW Pepper on a bit of paper, and he would have bought that too. You know,
Probably.
A great character, and it's nice to see it in his videos.
Oh, absolutely. It stands out in his YouTube lives, I see. So, so let's show some of your art. How long do you think it usually takes you to do a project, and what are your usual steps when you do a prepping for your any of your art, I should say?
So it really depends on what the piece is. I'm very much start one thing and finish it before you start the next. Apart from that Tatiana Romanova one that I've kind of put aside because other things were kind of taken over that I really wanted to get stuck into, and I was kind of struggling with it a little bit, and I sort of lost a little bit of the motivation. I will go back to it because I am happy with it. It's just at the time it was kind of eating me up a little bit. So yeah, I usually use watercolor or gouache, and gouache is basically a water-soluble paint like watercolor, but it's a bit more like acrylic. It's a bit thicker. I never really use acrylic or oils, although I've got a whole bunch of them through there. But usually, for me, I like watercolor style. I'll use gouache as well if I want things to be a bit more vibrant, because watercolor is quite a translucent paint. You know, it's quite thin. I usually start by sketching out whatever it is that I want to paint. So all those landscapes that I was doing at the start, all the portraits, the Spectre one, I just get a reference photo and I do a sketch. I quite often do a couple because the first one, the proportions are usually askew or whatever, and you can kind of go from there. And then, yeah, then I just sort of paint them. A lot of the stuff I've been doing recently for this Bond in Color exhibition that I'm doing is a lot weirder and wackier than all those previous stuff, like a lot more experimental and a lot more in the style of stuff that I do out with Bond art. Kind of wanted to bleed that into the Bond art, because a lot of the stuff I do that's you haven't seen me post, like the personal artworks I do that are not Bond related, are quite bright and vibrant and expressive and a lot less illustrative. But yeah, my favorite kind of style is watercolor and ink. So quite tight illustration in pen, and then quite loose paint. I quite like that combination, which is why I quite like Jeff Marshall's stuff. If you look up his stuff, it's not like that, but it kind of is at the same time. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the process itself, it depends what it is. It usually takes me a good 3 or 4 like solid sessions from start to finish to do one, not including the sketch. So the sketch will probably take me one session of anything from an hour to the whole day, depending on what it is. And then I feel like I'm starting from there. That kind of feels like a bit that doesn't count. But for the Spectre one, for example, that I done the first one, which I was kind of pleased with, but I was like, I could do that better. And when people liked it and I wanted to make prints of it, I was like, I'm going to need to repaint that because it was a bit smudgy. Like, I don't have my painting setup is not like, I don't stand back with a brush and paint like this. It's very much like I'm drawing. I'm kind of head down with my arm on the table. So a lot of the artwork that I do ends up a little bit kind of scruffy almost, just because I could probably be a little bit more careful with the way that I paint. But yeah, so usually anything up to a week, but very rarely over a week. Very, very rarely. I mean, I've done 10 artworks for the Bond and Colour exhibition, and I started them 5 weeks ago.
That's crazy.
It's pretty swift, and I do have more time on my hands, obviously, with the lockdown stuff. It's not normal for me to bang out that many artworks.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy, man. And it's safe to say that, first off, none of it's photoshopped, because most art these days is all photoshopped or has something to do with Photoshop.
Well, these ones that for the Bond and Colour exhibition, there's digital drawing in there as well. All digital. They're not all digital. They're mixed media. Okay. So they're quite experimental to use that many different mediums. So there's sketching pencils, colored pens, black pens, watercolor, and digital. All in every piece has a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And number 2, remember this, everybody, and everybody's gonna PM Billy for this one. That number 1 Spectre print is coming to the United States, and it's arriving in my PO box.
If you genuinely want one, give me your address, and I will send you one.
I'm giving you a hard time. I'm just giving you a hard time. No, I'm kidding. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I thought it was funny when you posted that the other day. I was like, what the?
Yeah, I know. And I did think in my head, I was like, I feel like I'm not telling someone I should about this. Like, when you have that niggling feeling in your head.
Yeah.
Kind of. I was like, there's someone out there who I should tell about this. And it was you.
Yeah. Well, and I like I said, I thought it was so funny. I was like, oh my gosh, are you serious? Like, and I was even saying that to myself. I was like,
I just feel like you think I was just totally just after your money.
No.
I was like, I'm not making prints, but I will sell you the original, and it's so much more expensive.
And to be honest, I would actually buy the original off you, so...
If you genuinely want the original, I'll go down on that original price. If you want it for you, I'll do that.
I appreciate it, and like I said, I might have to take you up on it.
I would genuinely love for you to have it. And honestly, if you don't, then a print is also available.
Well, we'll get into that later, but... Well, this is technically not even a question, but it's another thank you. But for everyone that doesn't know, recently he has also done something that people most wouldn't consider doing, but due to COVID-19, Cue the Music Show has been struggling, and Billy painted Prince of Grace Jones from A View to a Kill. All proceeds went to Cue the Music Show. So, Billy, I want to say thank you for doing such a courageous and generous thing. And when I have the money, I'd like to buy a print off you. And to everyone out there, I highly recommend you go support Billy and Cue the Music Show, because they are both fantastic and fabulous people in this community, and they need all the support you can get. So Billy, once again, and even Warren and the rest of Cue Cue the Music show. Thank you guys so much for all the hard work you guys do. And
thanks, man. I appreciate it very much. And thanks to Warren from Cue the Music for he got in touch with me after the fact and said some very nice, kind things, and was very supportive of the whole thing. And it was a complete honor to do it. I was really proud of the Grace Jones painting, and I really wanted to do something with it because portraiture in that style, I had to test myself quite a bit to come up with that one. I was really pushing the boat out in terms of portraiture is not really my strong suit, not in that more realistic style at least. So I was just really pleased with myself when I finished it. I was like, wow, I'm actually really, really happy with this. And obviously I knew Warren and the guys were struggling a little bit with everything that was going on, so it kind of made sense. And, it was a good way for me to kind of get a bit of traction over to their GoFundMe. And we made £250 in total from 25 prints at £10 each. So it was my way of kind of, instead of me giving a little, I could
absolutely, and you delivered it in a big way. £250 is still a big
I'm really
amount
proud
of money these days. And the most,
absolutely,
and especially them right now.
Of course, yeah. So, and I know that from speaking to Warren, there's just big money that was on the line for them. Like we're not talking hundreds of pounds, we're talking thousands of pounds. And I know how hard he works for the band, and I know how good they are. I just felt really bad, and here was me kind of at home with all this spare time to indulge in my hobby. As bad as lockdown is, it kind of sucks, but at the same time, I'm thankful for the fact it gives me more free time in the house to do art. So I'm kind of in the back of my head, I'm kind of benefiting from this in my own little way. So it's nice to be able to translate that into something that was going to help, Warren and the guys who were really in a tough spot, And thanks to you as well for saying that kind of stuff, man. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, and I appreciate saying that. And, I'll be frankly honest, listening to, I don't listen to, Spotify that much or Apple Music or any of those really that much. I honestly go to YouTube. And when I do, I type in, of course, the people I want to listen to. And I would rather listen to, for instance, Warning, the rest of Cue the Music show, because if you haven't listened to them or had the opportunity of seeing them live, I haven't seen them live, but, just coming across them and listening to them over YouTube, they're one of the, actually, I take that back. They're not one of the best. They are the best tribute band out there.
100%.
They really are.
100% agree. And they're so good. Just type them into YouTube. There's no other Bond musical tribute act that's doing what they do to the level that they do it. And they dig into kind of the B-sides and stuff as well. They're not just playing obviously they play the big hits, but they're doing cues from the scores, and they're doing some other Bond related songs that are, they do the Pretenders stuff, and they're really going deep on the James Bond stuff, and it comes from the heart. You can tell Warren cares so much about it. The passion definitely translates really well to the music. So yeah, definitely can't recommend them enough to someone that likes James Bond music. There's no words you can say other than just go and listen to them immediately.
And again, everybody, if you have the money or anything, please go be generous and go support them. And again, Billy, thank you so much on your contribution, and
thank you. Thanks. And
keep it up.
Without wanting to advertise too much, although it's not really advertising if it's for charity, but I've just reordered another 25 prints of the Mayday artwork, and all the music again is going to Cue the Music. So all the money, is going to Cue the Music.
The first 25 another sold spoiler out, so, right there, people.
Yeah, so the first 25 sold out. So I've ordered 25 more, and all that money is going to go to Cue the Music as well. We'll do round 2. Maybe take a little longer to sell them out, but I'm not fussed.
You never know, they may go again super fast.
I certainly hope so. And I think they'll arrive at some point next week. So I know that time stamping is probably not very good, seeing as this is going to go up on YouTube forever. But that's going to be around about the 18th of June. I think they're going to arrive with me. So towards the end of June, they'll be up again.
It is the 11th, so who knows? Maybe I might dive into editing this directly after, or tomorrow sometime, and be like, okay, surprise everybody.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know how long it takes you to edit a video. I feel bad because you're recording and doing everything, and I'm just gonna.
Well, nowadays
just sit here on my chair, spinning around.
Nowadays, it's so much harder to tell, like, how do I do this? How do I do that? Because, like I said numerous times now, and I don't mind repeating myself, I was doing all my editing on my phone before.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, and now it's more like I gotta sit down, figure out how to do this, splice that, do that, make sure the transition is just right.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
I mean, in many ways, it's impressive that you were doing the editing that you were doing on your phone. Like, if I spend too long on my phone, I just get totally frustrated because it's, this little handheld, But
insight for you and everybody out there. I was getting so frustrated, and especially I was venting to Chris, that one Bond guy, and Jocelyn, LadiesWhoBond. I was saying to him, "Fuck this shit! I'm about to toss my damn phone, and I hope it breaks and never appears in my life ever again." And they were like, "Are you serious? What's the problem now?" It's like, "Oh, it's audio." It's like,
I'm
are you
absolutely
serious?
not surprised whatsoever that you
stuff like that. It was like
frustrated editing things on your phone. So hopefully now the editing process is a bit more enjoyable for you. It'll probably inspire you to do more videos if you know that the editing process isn't going to be a major pain in the arse.
Alright, so I want to just talk about this one little thing, and it's about No Time to Die. And no, it's not about any of the spoilers that are out there to this date, or what the Guardian or the Guardian is posted, or the Sun, you name it.
Yes, let's not talk about the Sun, please.
Do you think Safin is going to be revealed as Dr. No? And I want to hear a full-on explanation, yes or no, behind it.
No. I think no. Because the Blofeld cover-up was not sly whatsoever. Inspector, I think the moment you hear Christoph Waltz is in that film, you're going, he's Blofeld. I feel like they must have heard that everybody knew after the fact. They must have gone, that didn't really work. I don't think it adds up that he is going to be Dr. No. I mean, maybe in some way at the end it kind of works out that he is. My personal view is that it's going to be inspired by Dr. No, but he's not going to be Dr. No. Because, I don't know, just doing that same thing twice by sort of creating a false name and then revealing it to be this other person. I just, say what you will about Spectre, but I just don't think they will make that mistake twice. And I think by now they probably know that didn't really work in the way that it was meant to work. It didn't have that sort of shock factor that maybe they thought it might have had. I just don't think that they would do the, releasing of a fake name to reveal that it's somebody else again. I just don't. Plus, I don't know. It just doesn't scream out to me that he's going to be Dr. No, unless something happens to his hands throughout the film. But I don't know. For me personally, it just kind of appeared that it was this big sort of fan theory. But I hadn't actually seen anything myself that made me go, oh, he must be Dr. No. I don't really get the whole thing, to be honest. I don't think he's going to be Dr. No. What do you think?
I honestly think he's going to be Dr. Honestly, no. And I honestly, after, everything, and especially now that we've had time to think during COVID and such, I don't think he's going to be. Would it surprise me if he is? Yeah, absolutely. but I don't think it's gonna happen because one, the only thing that we've really seen that potentially could give away him being Dr. No is the Ken Adam-like sets.
Yes. Yeah,
That's
I
the
agree.
only thing that we've seen, and that could just be a homage to Dr. No, unfortunately, saying, hey,
That's kind of what I think.
it's a Ken Adam-like set. We're just paying tribute to Ken Adam. That's all we're doing. He's not Dr. No.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
And
I
this
think
could be just a setup for the next Bond film, and it could be Bond going back off to Jamaica and tracking down this villain named Dr. Julius No, which, of course, we never hear him revealed as Julius No, but just as Dr. No. There's so many things behind this that it makes you wonder.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but I think you're kind of on the right tracks by saying that it's going to be inspired by that, but he's not actually going to be Dr. No. But is No his real name? Could that be a spin that they take?
Question. But they also say Safin has the Garden of Death and such, but we don't know. There's nothing we really know.
I mean, for all the spoilers that have came out, the fact that we're still debating this and really have no idea how it's going to be, I'm glad of that fact, because a few things have been leaked and if they are true, it kind of sucks that we already know them. But I'm glad that the Safin thing is being talked about and everyone's still going, oh, I don't know. We're still speculating about it. So I'm glad that there's an unanswered question at least. And I wouldn't dislike if he was Dr. No. I'm just saying that I don't think he will be. But if it turns out he is, that's not something that I'm not going to like. What do you think? Do you want him to be Dr. No?
I kind of would like to see it. Yes, I would love to see a reincarnation. Dr. No was the first villain of the series.
Of course, yeah.
Well, we should say of the movie series.
Do you think it's a...
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh.
Do you think it could be a way of tying up the Craig tenure back to the start of the other ones?
And that's where I'm thinking. Maybe he doesn't die in No Time to Die. And then it rolls over. We see, of course, Bond in M's office saying that we need you to go out to Jamaica again, and we know somebody that you know as well, and it's, of course, this guy that you're going to be getting in contact with. Of course, it'll be Quarrel and everything, and who knows how, like I said, who knows how this is really going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, and if they did do that, obviously it would make no sense.
But there's been rumors out there saying Nomi is I think the niece of Quarrel or something like that, from what I've read in the past as well.
That's interesting, actually. See, I would like stuff like that.
I don't know. I've heard a lot of things and theories, what people have thought. I'm like...
But do you think because of this big Dr. No rumor, people then start over-analyzing it and they're like, well, that could be...
absolutely.
I believe we are a fan 100%. Base that do that. We'll dig into every last...
Batman fans don't do that for theirs. Superman doesn't do it either. The list goes on. Nobody really else does it besides James Bond fans. Yeah. They analyze everything. It doesn't matter what it is.
I mean, I like that about the community, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, you hear some stuff and you're like, you've got to be really wrong about that, man. That can't be right.
Well, half the time it's like, I just want to pour myself a glass of scotch and just sit back and laugh at you. You're fucking making a fool of yourself, my friend.
And I think for this one as well, because we've had such a big gap, and in general, we're getting big time spans between each film, it's kind of crying out for the fan base just to do anything to fill the space. We're desperate for a new Bond film. It could be, it's 5, it could be even 6 if something else goes wrong, There's a lot of time for speculation. There's a lot of time to be digging into these things that you perhaps otherwise wouldn't really dig into. So I don't blame anyone for coming up with these crazy fan theories, whether I believe them or not. But we've got so much free time on our hands waiting for these bloody films to come out that it's no surprise that they do. And I'm a fan of fan theories in general, apart from the code name. But everything else that anyone wants to dabble in, I'm into that. I quite like that side of the Bond community. But so long as we steer clear of the code name theory, then
Right. That codename theory stuff is just let it slide, please.
Yeah, it is actually the worst theory. And every time I go on Reddit and there's this kind of question about what's your favorite fan theory, and it's got like 6,000 comments, I just find myself having to go on and searching for James Bond because I know someone is going to have said it. And it's always got thousands of upvotes and people going, oh, I totally believe this one too. And it just drives me mad because it's so wrong on so many levels, which is kind of why I hope they don't try and tie up the Dr. No thing to kind of start again from the original Dr. No, because it just adds coal to this fire that won't go out.
Well, and that's why I think I'd like to see him Bond working with, Commander Stringways for a brief bit, and then of course we see Commander Stringways die. Of course, Quarrel being a huge impact. Same with Felix. I think that would be a pretty good story. And of course, nobody can top Ursula Andress' iconic walking out of the water with that bikini knife.
Yeah. They
but
Halle Bailey tried to match it.
Dear God, let's not get started on that.
Well,
but,
8-year-old. I'll have to know that 8-year-old me thought it was fucking brilliant.
But
How about this, right?
Okay.
What if they're tying up towards Dr. No here, because after Daniel Craig's tenure is over, they're considering remaking the originals?
No, and the originals are good, but I honestly think it's time to go. Would I want to see them go back that route? Yeah, I would want to see more of the Fleming. They have to go straight to the book. They can't go off what they wrote for the movies or anything like that. They would have to go straight to the book, or they need to go contact Raymond Benson, Sebastian Falks, any of them, saying, hey, we want to adapt the rights to your books. It's just time. We've been going on the only adaptations, I think, of the continuations we've gotten, which were similar and close, were, of course, Raymond Benson's, but they weren't spot on. So
I think there's a lot to be dug into in the continuation novels that could definitely be used. There's a lot of stuff in the continuation novels as well that I think is pretty bad. I've not read them all, but there's definitely stuff there that they could dabble into. I'm just kind of wondering whether they're kind of gearing up to make a remake of Dr. No. If they're going to want to go back down that kind of route. I've heard a lot of people in the community say that they would like a more timepiece kind of Bond that goes back to that kind of 60s style. Maybe they're gearing up by all these Dr. No rumours that are flying about, these Dr. No inspirations in No Time to Die. Maybe it's gearing up to, as a bit of sneaky promotion for the fact that they're going to remake Dr. No with a new Bond actor.
And again, we don't know until we finally see the movie, and hopefully it's sooner than later.
I know. It's been such a long wait. I'm kind of over the wait now. It doesn't really mean anything to me anymore. I've been disappointed too many times to, But we'll see. I'm hopeful that November is going to happen, but we'll see.
I absolutely agree. All right. Favorite set from the series?
Volcano Lair.
Okay.
Has to be the Volcano Lair. It just has to be. I can't imagine myself picking anything else. It's just so good, and I love the whole action scene that takes place there. It's visually stunning. It's totally timeless. It's one of a kind. It's incredible. It's honestly I really love You Only Live Twice in general, actually. But
it's my guilty pleasure, to be frankly honest. And
don't be guilty about it, man.
I was not able to find my copy of it for months, and then I messaged Chris and Jocelyn the other day. hey, guess what? I found my missing copy of You Only Live Twice.
Wow.
And it's like, and I was
had you not seen it for
surprised
a
to
while?
find out where it was. Let's just say that.
Was it under your pillow? You know, you went to sleep with it at some point?
No, unfortunately, it was not. It was actually in with another movie series that I have that has multiple slots. So I was like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah, it's one of those things. At the time, you're like, "Oh, I'll put it there, and I'll remember that it's there," and you just never ever do.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have the Blu-ray, the 50th anniversary Blu-ray collection, and it's missing one. And for the life of me, I just don't know where it is. I'm gonna find it one day, but I have no idea.
It's not that horrible extra bonus feature disc that they put in there.
No,
thanks a lot, Fox.
That was watched once, I think, and it's just sat in the box ever since. I don't even think I finished it, if I'm going to be completely honest.
No,
we call it bonus features, but
right.
It's a bonus headache more than anything.
Favorite gun barrel?
Live and Let Die. Live and Let Die. Purely for the music. Although it's a good gun barrel as well. But the music cue that's over that gun barrel is amazing. It's just... yeah, I think Live and Let Die. That's my gut reaction, I think. No. I really like the License to Kill gun barrel as well, though. I really like that's because of the music. I think I favor my gun barrels on the music more than the execution of the actual turn and shoot, I think. Although Majesty's is pretty much ticking all the boxes as well.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you. Like, I love the music aspect. And that really is the deciding factor, but that turn and shoot. But I have to agree with you. It's either either License Kill, Live and Let Die, and Majesty's. I absolutely have to agree with you. Those,
yeah,
it's something about him. Like, I know George's is like just so iconic because he drops to one knee, of course, and the blood just trickles down and wipes him away. That explains it all.
Yeah, that one. The more I think about it,
why does Live and Let Die and License to Kill really stand out there? That I don't know, and I won't be able to answer for a while. But
I think it's the music. For me, it's the music because I don't think there's anything that's particularly cutting edge about the Roger Moore turn and shoot in the Live and Let Die gun barrel. But the music is so good that I almost don't even care. You know. It's just it
changed up throughout Moore's tenure.
Yeah,
by grabbing his wrist and then doing a kind of traditional way of holding it. And I don't know if that's because he was so nervous and he was afraid of because he didn't like guns. So
Roger Moore was so cute, man. He's just like such a harmless angel.
Oh, I know, right?
For the world, who had given this job of being like a murderous, callous, cold secret agent, Yeah, I spent
all my life being the Saint for so many years, and now I'm playing James Bond.
Yeah, he's just like almost in many ways just too nice for the role. Love Roger Moore, man.
Absolutely,
such a great man.
I would have loved to have met him. He I'm not gonna lie, I don't like the Moore films as much, but I love Live and Let Die with passion. I don't know why, but I'll save that for off camera.
It's not a hugely unusual opinion to have, I don't think.
No, I don't think
Live and Let Die is his best, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you agree.
But
yeah,
we'll save that topic for another day, though.
Yeah, I nearly met Roger Moore during one of his live shows that he was doing. He was at the Festival Theatre in Edinburgh. Okay. And I was waiting at the stage door to try and get an autograph. There for hours, absolutely hours. And apparently he went in a sneaky little door that I didn't know about. And so I had my opportunity there and blundered it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it was still amazing to see him, obviously, on the stage and stuff. Okay. But I really was hoping to meet him that day. But then at the same time, I quite like the little story of, he's still this enigma that in my brain, like that, and you never ever see someone in real life up close, So yeah, it would have been nice to have met him. But at the same time, he was pretty elderly at the time, and I did feel a little bit guilty about potentially hindering him as he was walking from his car into the venue. Like, you're an autograph guy, aren't you? You're quite into autographs. Am I right in saying that?
Oh yeah, I am.
Yeah, because
I'm a full autograph collector.
My dad is a autograph collector. He's a big autograph hunter. For the last few years, pretty much a full-time autograph hunter.
Yeah.
Since he retired from his other job.
It's fun though.
Absolutely, man. It's a very cool hobby that's kind of deteriorating a little bit with social media. It's the age of the selfie, right? So I think a lot of people get asked for a selfie more than they get asked for an autograph.
Mm-hmm.
But I seen the video you posted about hunting down Bond autographs, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm quite knowledgeable on that kind of stuff. So I like that video. I'd like to see a bit more of content around the Bond autographs, because there's not really too much kicking about. From my knowledge.
Yeah, and unfortunately, when you're gonna, I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler. When it goes to collecting autographs nowadays, you have to either go to, of course, book signings, like for instance, Roger Moore when he did his My Word Is Bond, or what I think that's what it was called, if I remember correctly. But of course, his agent Gareth was there.
Yeah.
And I know he didn't. I don't think they made it to Oregon here in the States, but I know people that have gone to several of his book signings before, and they took like 8x10s of him or other books, and I think Gareth told him no. It's like it has to be only
the book or something.
Book. Yeah. And,
I think that's kind of understandable, I guess.
Or you have to catch them at the airport or hotels or stuff like that nowadays. You can't just randomly go to like a book signing or anything like that.
Yeah, see, for me personally, the hunting down in the wild kind of aspect of autograph hunting is something that I feel a little uncomfortable about. Like, I don't want to feel like a hindrance to these people that I admire. Whereas my dad he's a ruthless autograph hunter. He's like an old school kind of wait for hours in the rain, and he's going to get one. And recently, I think it was towards the end of last year, Pierce Brosnan was in Edinburgh shooting a movie, and I knew the hotel that he was staying at. So I waited for, again, just so many hours. It was really cold. I think it was like November or December or something. And here in Scotland, it's really, really cold in those months. And I was just freezing my arse off, and he never appeared. The following day, my dad actually met him and got his autograph. But he's just got a knack for getting them. I would wait for hours, and I don't know, he's been doing it for so long that he kind of learns how it's done. There's an art to it, Obviously, you can luck out as well, but yeah, I don't know.
Like I said, it's fun and all, but it's so tiring and it's so expensive in so many ways.
Absolutely. So, the amount of hours that he spent in the cold waiting for people, and it's a big dedication, and you get to meet some cool people, but
but it's only for like a brief sec.
Absolutely,
unless if they give you a full, hey, let's talk for 20 minutes.
Of course, yeah.
I've known people that have been, oh, hey, do you want to have a quick bite to eat, and that's it. But,
yeah. But there's just something about waiting outside someone's hotel that I feel a little bit awkward about.
Absolutely.
He just wants to go up to his room and change his shirt, So
right. Favorite opening credits.
I was going to say The Living Daylights there. Probably The Living Daylights.
Okay.
Probably The Living Daylights, I think. I really like Spectre. I really do like the Spectre opening credits. Probably overall The Living Daylights, I think.
Why behind The Living Daylights?
Just the perfect introduction to Timothy Dalton's Bond, I think. It's especially on the back of A View to a Kill. The tonal shift there and the intensity of the action from a stuntman kind of jogging in A View to a Kill to Timothy Dalton on the top of that truck. Just really, really going for it. I think it's shot really well. I think the establishing shot of Timothy Dalton is just amazing. There's not many more badass shots of the Bond actors, in my opinion, especially establishing shots. He got really lucky with how good that shot is, and I just like it a lot. I think it's quite funny. I quite like the Gibraltar setting. Mm-hmm. I actually had a trip booked a couple of years ago to go to Gibraltar, where I was going to do all of the Living Daylights location hunting stuff, and we had a big snowstorm, and all my flights got cancelled, so I never got the chance to go back. But yeah, I love that scene a lot. I would love to go there.
I agree, and it's interesting to find out that they shot the Jeep out of like cannon, and then it squished on impact. I was like, oh my god, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I agree, that was such a perfect introduction to Timothy's Bond, and he got so lucky for that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he did not get the third Bond film like we all would have wanted.
Yeah, I would have really, really loved to have seen that. I'm a big Timothy Dalton fan. I think both of his films are really, really, really good. Really good.
Which I don't stand by him. I don't think GoldenEye would have been good with him, unfortunately.
No.
And I don't think, and when people say, oh, would you have liked seeing Pierce in The Living Daylights? No, I'm sorry.
Absolutely
Just because I don't think Pierce would have worked out well with John Glenn. I think he was the perfect fit for Martin Campbell.
I think so. And Martin Campbell came at that time after the 6-year gap, obviously, between License to Kill. He seems to be very good at sort of rebooting the series. That's probably his strong suit. Obviously, the ones he's done just happen to also be that. But, he obviously knocked it out of the park so much with GoldenEye that they thought, okay, another kind of reboot here with Casino Royale. We know who to trust on this. But yeah, I totally agree. I don't think Pierce Brosnan would have worked that well in The Living Daylights. As much as I love Pierce Brosnan and would love to see him in more things. To take that away from Timothy Dalton, I can't agree with it. I'm too much of a Timothy Dalton fan.
Okay, hold on a sec. If you were stranded on a desert island with a portable Blu-ray player, what one movie would you want stuck with you?
I hate this question. Majesties. Because it is kind of a one-of-a-kind film anyway. Even amongst the others, it still has, obviously, it's George Lazenby's only film. But I also think for many other reasons it is kind of a one-of-a-kind film. With the how romantic it is, the love story, how it was kind of that first film that was really, I feel like, a beautiful storytelling Bond film that really grabbed you by your heartstrings, as opposed to just purely with adrenaline. So I think it's kind of a one-of-a-kind Bond film anyway. So when I'm watching On Her Majesty's, I'm not really comparing it to the other films because it's Lazenby's only one. There's nothing for me to directly compare it to. Obviously, when you're watching a Sean film, if you're watching Diamonds Are Forever, you're probably going, oh, well, he looked so much better in Goldfinger. Or if you're watching Die Another Day, you're going, oh, well, what happened after The World Is Not Enough that we got to this? Every other actor has this thing that you can directly compare it to. Obviously, Lazenby, we've got that one film. That's all we ever got. So we can just love that for what it is without going, oh, well, he was better in his second one or something like that. So for me, if you have to pick one, I don't see how it can't be Majesty's. I mean, it's also an amazing film, obviously. But I think logically speaking, you should pick Majesty's, even if it's not your favourite. If you're on a desert island and you're only allowed one Bond film, it should be Majesty's. It's designed to be there on its own,
Absolutely.
Majesty's.
All right, these questions come from Jocelyn. So
okay, hi Jocelyn.
Favorite gadget?
Okay, so I'm gonna give a little shout out first to one that's not my favourite, but I think is just a really silly, fun gadget that I've got a lot of time for. That silly little canine dog thing from A View to a Kill. The little robot dog thing that's got
Q pet,
the head.
where he says a new pet Q.
Yeah, yeah. Because that thing is just like, it's so bad and it's so useless. And the way that, you know, it snoops on them at the end up the stairs in the house, and you just know that Q's had to go in and take it and put it at the top of the stairs and then go back down and start using the remote control. It's just like the silliest little gadget ever. It doesn't work.
Funny thing you bring that up, it's like, you know, we all know that Tanya Roberts is not naked in the shower with Roger during that scene at all, and neither is Roger, but you know the kissing is real because you can't fake that shit.
No.
But you know, it's still awkward as hell seeing a older Roger Moore with a young Tanya Roberts, and you see this Q pet like thing peeping on them. It's like, oh,
it has got major like peeping Tom vibes to it.
It does.
Like, it's just, there's so many things about that little ending.
It's like,
just
Q, you sneaky old devil, you. Are you getting off by this on the side?
Yeah, and then you remember the fact that he's had to go in and walk up the stairs to put the dog there, unless of course the dog can sprout legs and climb upstairs.
Right.
You know.
I would assume so, just because it is a Q branch gadget.
Yeah, yeah, you would hope so. But yeah, probably not my favorite, but I thought I would shout it out. I also like the silly little seagull hat from Goldfinger that's someone will have had to make from a little stuffed seagull. You know, but yeah, my favorite gadget is probably the magnetic watch from Live and Let Die. It's like equal parts silly and also good. You know, it's got the little buzzsaw that he uses. The interesting thing about that gadget is that they tell you all about the magnetic bit, and it works for taking a dress down. But then when he tries to use that on the boat that's tied up, it kind of doesn't work. And then the only time that out in the field that gadget actually works is when he uses the little saw, which they didn't mention at all at the start. You know?
No, and I remember a kid, because, you know, and I hate myself for saying this. I said Diamonds Are Forever was one of the first ones I saw when I was talking with David Zaritsky. No, everybody, that is not true whatsoever. Live and Let Die 100% is one of the first. And I remember, of course, you know, that scene with Moneypenny. Oh, I have your new watch. And it's, oh, thank you, Moneypenny. And of course, we see him with Maddie Smith drawing the zipper down. And then it's like, iconic. When you're at the inn with Yaphet Kotto and all of them, wait, there's a saw attached to this? Now that's my type of watch.
It just kind of appears out of nowhere. In fact, he gets the bullet with the magnet.
Exactly.
So it's not completely useless. I shouldn't have forgotten about that.
Oh, and
very important
the scene in the bayou as well, when he's retracting with the boat as well.
Yes.
At
the boat's tied up.
Cocaine factory or heroin factory? My bad. Heroin factory.
Yeah, the trespassers will be in Crocodile Place.
The
one of my favorite scenes of time. Yeah. Just really ridiculous filmmaking that they stumbled across that place and found a guy crazy enough to actually do that.
What 3 Q branch gadgets would you want with you at all times?
Interesting question. That's tough. I feel like I would have to think about that one. I'm going to go with the canine dog. Just, you know, I want to own that. I shamelessly want to own that.
Okay.
I quite like the Moonraker watch with the concealed gun. I feel like that would be quite good. You know, picture the scene. I'm out walking my canine dog. I'm probably going to get abused for walking about with a robot dog. But I'm going to have this watch, so, you know, I'm feeling good that if anyone comes up to me and wants to tackle me on my dog, I can use that on them. So they kind of go nicely hand in hand in terms of me going out for a peaceful walk with my robot dog. The third one, I should probably pick something a bit more actually useful. At the same time, I do want to just pick some of the silly ones that you see while walking through the different, you know, Q scenes and you just see all these weird ones. I really like that one where he puts the plate down on the table and it sort of whizzes along and decapitates the guy at the end. I don't know if you've ever been at like some kind of party or out for a nice meal and someone just says something really inappropriate. You would just love to have one of them. That would.
Well, I
feel like I'm showing my dark side here by picking stuff that is going to kill people whenever I happen to want to kill people. Yeah, I like a lot of them. Yeah, I'm gonna settle for those three. I think I'm gonna settle for those three. I'd be totally indestructible. I would have my companion for life, who can also snoop on old men in the shower, and then I'd have 2 ways of killing people. That's all I really need.
There you go. Again, these questions came from Jocelyn, so you got to give her credit. And this one is also from her, and it's the last one that I will wrap us up on.
Okay.
If all the world's art supplies were about to be liberated by a Bond villain, and you could only choose one art medium to save, what would you choose?
Wow. Interesting.
Again, you gotta thank Jocelyn for thinking of something.
That's a good question.
Completely
I like
creative
that.
and outside the box.
Blending the Bond and the art. That's totally my vibe. I like that a lot. My heart lies with watercolor. I think if that's the one that I would want to keep. At the same time, like it is the kind of medium that a lot of people don't like. So if I wanted to think about the bigger scale, I would maybe save acrylic, just because I could also utilize that in a similar kind of way and allow other people to use it in their own kind of way. So it depends if I'm being selfish or not. I would love to know the plot line that requires a Bond villain to destroy every possible art medium in the world apart from one. Yeah, I would love to see that Bond film. Maybe that's gonna.
Bond 26, everybody.
Yeah, I'd probably be the only person on the planet that would enjoy that.
I doubt that, but
yeah, I mean, watercolor is my favorite painting style, so that's probably what I would save. But then, does that mean eliminating just pens? You know?
I think that does. I'm not 100% sure because she's the one that.
Probably want to save pens as well, you know, just for writing things and stuff, you know. But
probably would.
Yeah, it depends on the nitty gritty of the lore of the question. But if the question within the question is what's my favorite medium that I wouldn't want to live without, it's definitely watercolor. I think that's the one I can have the most fun with for the most amount of time. I think. Thanks for the question, Jocelyn. That made me think in a way that I don't think I've ever thought before.
Any final words before we wrap up?
Thanks to you for inviting me on and allowing me to ramble about James Bond and about art and stuff. Thanks for the support. You've been very welcoming to me since I've joined the Bond community. I appreciate that a lot. Thanks to everybody in the Bond community that's done a similar thing. Keep doing what you're doing. I love your stuff. Please hit me up after we finish recording to sort out your address so I can send you a print, because I'm going to give you one. Thanks to everyone that's bought a print so far. Thanks to Warren from Cue the Music for allowing me to raise a bit of money for him. Thanks to everyone that bought those prints and got us to the goal of £250. It's nice to bring the Bond community together in a way that benefits, you know, someone else in the Bond community who's struggling, especially struggling with something as big as what they're going through. It's been nice to bring the Bond community together in that way. So yeah, just thanks. I hope you enjoy my upcoming exhibition, Bond in Colour, which is going to be happening in a week or two's time, I think, if everything goes to plan. It's a very weird, I don't know, if you're watching this later, go to my Instagram, @Billy'sBondArt, and it'll probably already be there if you're watching this in like a few months' time or something. It's 10 mixed media artworks, very weird and wonderful stuff that celebrate the vibrant and colourful world of Bond, in an artistic style that I don't think you see a lot of Bond art done in. You may like it, you may not. I'm expecting it to be a little bit divisive stylistically, but we shall see. It's been a lot of fun to put together. So if you're watching that before or after, check it out. Thanks again to everybody for supporting me and making me feel confident about myself in the Bond community, because I was very nervous to dip my toe in the water, but it's been very good.
So again, I want to thank you very much, Billy, for coming on. And if you want to take the time and support Billy Robertson, go to Billy's Bond Art on Instagram or any other platforms that I'm aware that you're not on.
No, it's pure. All my Bond art stuff is through the Instagram account. That's it. I do have a personal Facebook account as well, obviously, but I try not to go on it too much because I seem to be the kind of person that gets super addictive to just scrolling aimlessly through utter garbage. Right. So I'm trying to focus my attention on the Bond art account because it's fun. It's more fun and more productive, and I get more out of it than endlessly scrolling. But yeah.
Again, go drop Billy a follow at Billy's Bond Art on Instagram, everybody. And again, this is Brian Levesque for James Bond Aficionado. I am officially signing off now.